Hey guys, welcome to Evangelism Strategy. What is your strategy to reach people? Now, evangelism, again, we are borrowing words from the Christian world because I kind of like the power of them. Evangelism means a zealous advocacy of a cause. Do you have a zealous advocacy for your cause? I mean, religious people do about God, obviously, right? So, which is why we see that word used a lot in that world. But shouldn't we all have this type of drive when we're wanting to launch something new? What is your zealous advocacy to reach new people with whatever it is you're launching over the next year? The key to this is being able to write it down so that people know exactly what you're trying to do. When launching new churches, we always started with a ministry area profile of the county, the city, the church, where it would be located. I'll throw the website up in case that is what you're launching. But this is what we would do. We would buy this, and it would be about 200 pages of information on the area that we're trying to reach. How many families are in the area? How many single people are in the area? What's the highest education of the area? The financial averages of the area. Who liked fruit versus vegetables, 49er fans versus Raider fans, because we know there's a big difference in the target audience on those facts, right? So on and so forth. Just kidding, by the way, that wasn't on there, but we made sure that our evangelism strategy was based on the actual data for the area that we were going into. So right off the bat, let me just jump in with your first homework assignment. What is the data about who you're trying to reach with your new adventure? Whatever you're launching, it's got to have people involved at some point. I mean, unless you're, I don't know, I can't even think of another thing that you're launching that there's not people involved. So what is your data for the people you're trying to reach with what you're launching? Once you have your data, now you can come up with a plan. Don't get these out of order. A lot of people do. A lot of people love to make plans. They get their plan down. This is what I'm going to do. Boom, 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 boom. It's going to be so awesome. And they have no data for who they're trying to reach. So you start with your 1 year out. We're going to accomplish these things in a year. And then you begin to walk it back. You walk it back to 3 months from now, this is what we will accomplish. 1 month from now, this is what we're going to accomplish. And then we call it the big rocks. Before I move forward, do I have the big rocks in the bowl? I'll throw a picture up of exactly what I mean, but inside of this vase, the big rocks are those 1 year goals. Do I have those in? Because otherwise we will get all kinds of other stuff in this bowl and totally get it to where the big rocks don't fit anymore. And so you want to make sure the big rocks are in first. So measure what matters. This is data. Let's start with a scorecard. I'll pop up a scorecard on the screen here. This is what we call a company scorecard. And this takes months to get right, by the way. You will have to change your measurables quite often. So each month you're like, okay, I think we have this right. And then you measure it over 1 month and you realize, this needs to be a little bit different. But after a while, if you will keep a scorecard, a monthly scorecard, you will get your measurables down. This is the data that we want to be measuring. You want to identify the right activity-based numbers and then measure who is in charge of those numbers and what our goal is with those numbers. Picture a small plane flying over the Atlantic Ocean. Halfway across, the captain announces, I've got bad news and I've got good news. Bad news is the gauges aren't working, we're hopelessly lost, I have no idea what direction we're flying, and there's not much fuel. The good news is we're making absolutely great time. So there's that. This is what most people, when they're running a business, when they're launching something new, they talk about how great things are going when they don't actually know where they're going. They don't know what they're trying to accomplish because they haven't put in the big goals based on actual data. Imagine you're on a desert island somewhere. There's no one to talk to. There's no email. There's no phone. And you have one piece of paper. This piece of paper tells you your absolute pulse on your organization. What are the numbers on that piece of paper? This is what you're looking at. That's this piece of paper. You've got who's in charge of what, the measurables that that person's in charge of, the goal you're trying to get to, and then each month you're able to put in the number, the data of how it's going. This is so key, and this is what companies never have. So this is worth the price of admission if you can get this right. Hopefully that's helpful, and I screenshotted that for a long time so that you can pull that off and use it, but you need to use it. There's an advantage to having great numbers. Numbers cut through the murky, subjective communication between managers and direct reports. I don't know how many times you've ever heard a direct report talk about their job, and they talk about like relationship and how they're growing and this and that, and you're like, none of that's actually measurable, so I don't even really know if you're doing a good job, so good job. Numbers are what create the accountability. Accountable people who actually care about accountability create great numbers. They appreciate numbers. Numbers create clarity, commitment, competition, which is sometimes very good, results, teamwork. You solve problems faster when you can look at actual data. In the church world, when you ask pastors for their data, they always go into giving, how much money is coming in, attendance, their life group attendance, how many salvations or baptisms. They have these numbers, but those numbers don't actually tell you anything. They're the kind of numbers that make you go insane, because you're tracking things that may not be the goals you're trying to get to. Some of them are, obviously. Some of them might be. But most pastors just know that that's what everybody else measures, so they measure it when their situation might be very different. For example, in the church world, I would say it like this. Track numbers that bring those far from God to actually being leaders for God. How are you going to measure how you take someone from the community, the way that you're connecting to the community, actual data and numbers to reach the community, connect them to Jesus? What is the data for that? Effectively move them to discipleship. How are you going to measure that? Then into a leadership development program. How do you move them forward? And then how many church planters, missionaries, pastors that you've sent from your church? Are your giving numbers giving you any of those things? I mean, pastors like to say if someone's giving, then they have discipleship. It's not how it works. A lot of people hear giving, they think of it as if I give, then God blesses me. And that's why they give. And pastors don't argue with it because they need the giving to make the church work. But that's not what actual giving's about. That's not a number that tells you anything. What about attendance? Well, have someone big come every week. Have some superstar come. You know, Tim Tebow, I'm just thinking about people I've heard come in the past. But have these people come in and your attendance will be great. What are you learning? What's the data you learned from that? Are you making more disciples? Are more people coming to Christ? Are you sending more missionaries? Is that the actual measurable data? Or are you just measuring how many people are in the room? You want data that gives you real numbers. Real numbers come from real goals. Real goals come when you put the big rocks in the vase first. This is what we're after. This is our plan to get there. This is our intentionality to accomplish what we are launching. So whatever you're launching, big stuff, you want to make sure you measure the right data right from the beginning. Now, homework number 1 was to know your data, know exactly what it is the people, where you're trying to go, what you're trying to do. The second homework assignment is now, what are you going to measure based on the data? How are you going to measure it? And who is responsible for it? Homework 1, know your data. So get out there, do something, use that website or a website based on the kind of thing you're launching. Homework assignment 2 is, what are you going to measure based on that data? How are you going to measure it? And who's going to be responsible for it? That's when we can actually add the big rocks. Now we know what we're measuring. So I'm going to share the screen again. Once you have, I always forget how to do this. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to share this particular thing. This is another tracking tool. That's what I want to call this. I want to call it a tracking tool. So I call this the Vision Traction Organizer. And by the way, this is not mine. This comes from a book called Traction, and it's an awesome book. I love it, so I use it for everything. All right, look at this. First, we build a strong foundation for execution with the first 4 steps. What is it that we're trying to build? Well, we can't do that until we know our core values. So do we have our core values? We put those in. Do we have our core focus? What we're trying to do? What is it that we're passionate about? What's our unique niche in which we are doing something amazing? Now we put in our 10-year target. What is our 10-year target of what we're trying to accomplish 10 years from now? What's our 3-year picture? The future date, the revenue, the profit, the measurables, what does it look like 3 years from now? And once we know our 10-year and our 3-year, now we can go into our marketing strategy. What is it that we're trying to accomplish right now? Now there's 8 questions you must answer before you can even do any of this. Those 8 questions are, what are your core values? How are you going to put that in here? What are your core values? What is your core focus? What is your 10-year target? What is your marketing strategy? What's your 3-year picture? And then walk it back. What is your 1-year plan? What are your 90-day rocks? And what are your issues? What is your 1-year plan? What are your 90-day rocks? And what are your issues? Let me explain that part a little bit. So, knowing your 10, knowing your 3, and now knowing your 1, that gets you to the 3 months. You have to know your 10, your 3, and your 1, you know, what you're trying to do before you can talk about your 90 days. In the next 90 days, these are the big rocks that we are going to accomplish. What are going to be your issues along the way? What's going to stop you? You got to know those as well. If you can know what your issues are before you jump in, how much better are you going to be at accomplishing your goals? Right? So let's back up. Let's do it all over one more time. What are your core values? Less is more. They define your culture and who you are. Notice there's no blanks between the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 core values. These aren't long sentences. You want to be super clear. You want to attract like-minded people, and the core values will weed out the wrong people. Once they're defined, this is how you're going to hire, you're going to fire, you're going to review, you're going to reward people, you're going to recognize people based on core values. So have your team come up with like a list of 3 and then see how those end up looking like each other. Or think about who you want to look like and start to have the characteristics that embody that. Your organization's core values are somewhere in this list of what everyone believes you're all about and what you want to look like. So now narrow it down to those 3 to 5 that define who you are. What's your core focus? Don't get distracted by the shiny object that continues to pop up as you're working. This is so many leaders that a shiny object pops up and they're like, ooh, that looks awesome, let's chase that. Oh, that looks awesome, let's chase that. And they just go from one shiny object to another. Core focus is, this is what we're all about, and we stay focused on our core. Most people are sitting on their own diamond mines. The surest way to lose your diamond mine is to get bored, become overambitious, start thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, and begin to move from what they've already got that's awesome because they think there's something more or better or special over there. Find what you're awesome with. Find your core focus and stick to it and start mining the diamonds out of that. Why does your organization exist? What's its purpose? What's its cause? What's its passion? What's the niche that makes us special? What's the one thing that we do better than anyone else? Then move to, what is your 10-year target? What do you want your organization to look like a decade from now? What's your massive 10-year to 25-year goals? Why are you doing this? You will know when you have that right. You're going to be, this is why I'm doing it, and everybody knows this is why we do it. What's your marketing strategy? If you try to please everyone, you will lose. You have to be laser focused in your marketing. Stop being all things to all people. Who do you want to attract? Who is your target? Who are they? What do they think? What do they need? What do they appreciate? Where are they? Geographically and also characteristically, ideal people that you are trying to reach. What do they like? What's their age? What's their family size? Male, female, income level? What's those unique things that differentiate us from every other company? That's part of our marketing strategy. You create focus. The most common mistake that most organizations make involves competing in too many sectors. They start marketing all over the place, different product lines, trying to reach every single person out there, and they will lose. That is a plan that always loses. Instead of saying, yes, we can do that, we could do that, we could do that, but this is what we're all excited about, this is what we're great at, this is what we do. Everyone will be happier if you focus on your own diamonds. And that is what makes you special. I'm going to throw a video up that talks a little bit about this subject. When you have time, check out this video. Basically, the bottom line after the video, you should say this: keep it simple. If you're having trouble trying to figure out who you are, what's unique about you, begin to have 10-minute phone calls with people who are already on board with you. Hey, why are you on board? What's unique about us that makes you want to be on board with us? What's our proven process that we've done? Never tell someone something that you can show them. A visual process of this is what we are accomplishing. This is what our organization is doing. This is who we're targeting, and this is how we get it done. Each of these stories should be able to show exactly who we are. Have that kind of a visual. The visual of this is what we are all about. This is our marketing strategy. This is how it works. This is our proven process to get there. This is our guarantee that if you're involved with the organization, this is what will happen. That's the kind of stories that you want to tell. That's your marketing strategy. Once you have all of that, what's your 3-year picture? Don't overthink this. You're painting a destination. It's not the details. The obstacles along the way, yeah, we know about those. Don't put those in there. This is the destinations that we're trying to reach. Start with the easiest numbers that everyone can see on the same page. Paint a picture of this is what we're going to look like 3 years from now. Don't explain how you're going to get there. Just paint the picture. Then the 1-year plan. Less is more. Many companies, most companies, make the mistake of trying to accomplish too much in 1 year. If everything is important, then nothing is really that important. Decide on those 3 to 7 things that you're going to accomplish this year and be completely dedicated to those. Set SMART goals based on those. SMART goals are those strategic, measurable, achievable, relatable, and timetable goals. An outsider should be able to read these goals and know exactly what they are, what they mean, and where you're going in 1 year. And does your budget, how you're spending your money, actually support the goals that you're trying to reach? Once you have that 1-year plan, then you drop to that 90-day. What's our quarterly rocks? These are what we're going to accomplish in the next 90 days. You have your 1-year plan, but now you have to narrow down the vision. These, in the next 90 days, these are the 5 goals that are going to get us from where we are now to where we want to be in a year from now. In the next 90 days, we will accomplish these tasks that move us closer to our goal. Determine those 90-day goals and put those rocks in the vase. Then, what are your issues? You already know what's going to pop up, right? You already know what's going to happen. So what are the obstacles right now that you can begin to define and predict and prevent by saying them from the beginning? Here's some of the issues we're going to hit, and here's how we're going to overcome them. Your leadership team should be able to openly and honestly discuss issues that are going to be difficult as they're moving in their 90 days, as they're moving in these next 90-day goals, these rocks that they want to accomplish. They should be, if they have an open communication time with you, be able to say exactly what the issues will be, and then you set some of the challenges, the obstacles, and how you are going to move past them. That's how you set up your 90-day big rocks. This is the Evangelism Strategy, our zealous advocacy for a cause. This is why we exist. This is who we are trying to reach. Next time, in a couple weeks, after you've done all of this, we're going to talk about the F. The F is our follow-up strategy. Someone jumped into what we are doing. Now, how do we follow up with them? How do we treat them like they're the greatest thing that's ever happened to our organization that we have just began? That's the kind of follow-up strategy that we want to create. Can't wait. We'll see you next time. Let's go.